and that's the bulk of what we're going to be doing. So the last chapter mostly was just always doing one bar stats, so that was getting our answers. This one we're just going to have a different program. So in chapter 4 we're going to be comparing two different variables and see if we can find a correlation between the two of them. We're not going to be able to say that any of these have causation, like one variable is causing the other one to do something, because it's all going to be observational studies. So for this one, whenever you have problems on the homework that say, can you state that this variable causes this other one, it's always going to be no in this chapter, because they're all going to be observational studies. So the first way we're going to talk about how we can compare those two and see if there is a relationship between them is going to be to do what's called a scatter plot. Sometimes it's called a scatter diagram, and I think I might flip back and forth between those two terms in my notes. But the first one we're going to have is, the first blank is going to be our response variable y. And that's the variable whose value can be explained by the value of the, and this is going to be either predictor or explanatory. Really, explanatory is the one that we use most often. We don't use predictor a whole lot. So x is going to be the explanatory variable, which makes sense because this is an x and it starts with an ex, so those two are going to be going together. And then your response variable is what happens when you are done, what do you get out of it. So x is going to be the one that we're kind of given, that we know ahead of time, and then y is going to be the one that we're trying to predict. And the first thing we're going to do is a scatter plot, where we basically take these x's and y's and put them on a little Cartesian grid. So we've got a scatter plot graph that shows the relationship between two qualitative variables measured on the same individual. So for each individual, which could be a person, it could be something else, some other noun, we're going to have a value for x and a value for y, and those things are going to have to be paired together. So we're not going to want to order our x's, or we're not going to put all of our x's in order. We're just going to leave them as they are, because each x has a y that's associated with it, and those two are paired, they can't be split up. So they're going to be ordered pairs, so we're going to have x comma y that we're going to be able to graph. So here it says the explanatory variable is going to be on the x-axis, which is the horizontal axis, the x-axis, and then your response, your y, is going to be on the y-axis, which is the vertical. So when you start off some of these problems, they're going to ask you which one is your x, which one is your y. X is going to be the one that you can know ahead of time, and then y is the one that you're trying to predict based off of what your x could potentially be. So we've got a couple different examples we're going to be doing in this section. We're going to go back and forth. The first one is going to be this drilling time, and then you have another one that has to do with housing prices. So we've got this scatter plot here. Here's my x's. Here's my y's. And this one, they were nice enough to actually put my x's in order for me, which is kind of nice for some of the problems that we'll do later on. But they're drilling through rock, and x represents their depth in feet, so how far below the surface they are. So if they're 30 feet below the surface, then the time it takes to drill 5 minutes is, drill 5 feet is 5.88 minutes. And so if you go a little further down, so if you're 175 feet below the surface, it's going to take a little bit longer to drill 5 feet. It's going to take 7.62. So this is the one that we're trying to see if they are related to each other or not. So if you just look at the numbers, it appears that as these x values increase, these y values tend to increase as well. So maybe the further down we are, the longer it will take to drill 5 minutes. It kind of looks like that, just looking at this chart. But to get a better visual, we're just going to do a scatter plot, which they have right here. I think it'll always be a multiple choice. You won't have to actually put the dots on a grid yourself, especially with numbers like this, because they're not easy to find exactly. But basically what they did for this one is they took each time that they drilled. So up here, they've got This is one time that they drilled. They started at 35 feet below the surface, and it took them 5.88 minutes to drill 5 feet. So that point is going to be this one right here.